Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to start work on our bathroom, tiny little bathroom here in the corner. And I guess what we'll do first is, I believe this is still, yeah, it's part of the same flooring as the living space and the kitchen. So we'll just hide the bathroom door there for a second and jump into the floor layer so we can cross this off. And that will allow us to basically just paint the floor a different color in here for now. And I think what we'll do, we'll say go up to materials. Now I'll make it almost a gray color, not that color there specifically. Let's go with our regular red and we'll modify this. And we kind of want it to be almost a black. We'll probably put some tiles in here in the bathroom. So now we'll say, we'll go up to unhide last. And so now what we can do is we'll go into the door frame and basically we'll just draw up, what's our space here? Is this a 1/4 of an inch, about a 1/4 of an inch. So what we'll do is we'll draw this up 1/8 and then we'll just make a little threshold here. Draw this up that way. We'll say 0.6 this direction and 0.6 that direction. We'll just draw a little rectangle here. Erase those lines and those guides. And I guess what we'll do is we'll pull this down. We'll say another 0.1 and then draw the line down like that. So now we can just pull this across the bottom here to there. There we go. And essentially just try and get this to go underneath the door. So now we can just pull this across to here, to the inside, and we'll say, yeah, 1.25. And then we'll pull that this way until it basically lines up with this side of the door. About there. There we go, and that'll help separate the tiles in the bathroom to the flooring in the living space. And so now we can actually start placing some things in our bathroom. And I think the first thing we're going to go with, because we do have kind of limited space, I believe it's about 7 feet across the floor here, 6'9". And what we're going for is a tankless wall-hanging toilet. And we'll just see if we can find one on the warehouse. Wall-hung toilet. So we're in here now in the Gebrit page. And they have a lot of cool little things. And I think we're probably going to go with the toilet like this. And I believe this one comes with these 2 toilets, but we'll probably just go with the white one. You can hit download on this. I'll just place these here for now. I can go into this, delete that one. I can find a place to put this. And we'll turn on profiles just so we can kind of see the edges here against the white. Try and bring it up against the wall. Right there. Now we'll just, we might need to scale this a little bit just so we can kind of see what the proper dimensions of the toilet should be. And traditionally I think the front here should be from side to side will be about 365 millimeters. So we'll just draw a line up and then draw this across. We'll say 365 mm. That'll denote millimeters. So we can scale this down a little bit, right to about there. And we'll just drag it back into the wall for now so we can kind of see where it's lining up. Drag another line down there. Probably about there is good. We can erase all these lines now. And then we'll also want the gap underneath it to be about 90 millimeters. And that 90 millimeters is about 3.5 inches. So that can be the gap there. And then to the rim of the bowl should be about 460 millimeters, which is about there. So we can scale that up now. Say to there. So now we'll just scale it up a little bit so that we can kind of bring it back down to the edge of the baseboard on the floor here. I think that looks pretty good. So now we can just pull this back out again. Try and line it up with the wall. Right there. There we go. Now we'll bring it down a tiny bit. And we'll just see what that height is overall there. It's about 17 inches. I think that's a fairly comfortable height. I'll just do a little experiment here now. See if we can find the corner of the door and we'll swing it open. And yeah, I think that's a fairly reasonable amount of space, considering how very little space we already have. And we'll just we'll check the toilet out because there's definitely some things on it. The underside of the cover here is green for some reason. Just drill down into the layers and make sure that it's the same color as the rest of it. So that's the toilet. Now we can move on to the cabinet, and I kind of want to do a floating cabinet for this. So we'll just see what sort of counter height we can get. We'll turn off profiles again just to speed this up a little bit. 1.5. Our baseboards were 4.5. So we'll just bring this up, we'll say 33 inches, and then bring that down 4.5. And so we'll just go in and draw in some lines. And I guess we'll do a 2-inch counter, and then the depth of the sink can be probably 7, maybe, we'll say maybe 7, yeah, 7 inches below the counter there. We'll do another undermounted one like over in the kitchen. And we'll bring this down another 8 inches to probably there, maybe 2 inches more. We'll just draw a rectangle around this now, and we'll triple click this, we'll group it, we'll call it our downstairs bathroom vanity. We can go into this and we'll pull it out basically to the molding on the door, but then push it in, say 2 inches, and we'll just see what the depth is on this. It's about, we'll say 2 feet. We can pull on that 2-inch guide again, slide it across there, we'll pull it out 1/2 of an inch. We'll draw in our 1/8-inch guide here, and then maybe 2 inches on either side. And then those will have 1/8-inch pieces as well. And we'll just bring this across to the center, right there. So we'll drag out 16th-inch pieces on either side of this middle line, and erase that. And then we can just sort of trace off these guys with a rectangle down to there. Pull this one up. And then with these side lines, we can just draw a line straight down to there like that. Erase our guides, and we can push these lines in, say 0.75. And then rather than having a handle that sticks out, I think what we'll do, we'll go in and draw in some guides again. We'll say maybe 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches down from the top, and then 2 inches either side here. And then we'll bring this down 1 inch. Bring it over 2 inches from that side as well. We'll just draw in a rectangle. We can erase our guides, and then we'll push this in 0.75. Fill this back in again. And then what we can do with this, we'll just take our arc tool and bring it down to the corner there. And we'll just say, I guess, 3/16. It's not really giving us a blue line, so we'll make sure we know what the measurement is. Pull that across to there. And then do the same for this one. Pull this across. And then we'll pull this in 3/16. And we can draw a line through there. And just push this down, even just say 1/4 of an inch. Say pull them up 1/8. And these will act as basically little handles that are carved into the wood itself. Maybe we'll even go in and pull this line up sort of flush to that, just to make it seem a little bit more realistic. And so now we can do the sink, and we'll just draw on some sort of loose guides, figure out what our dimensions will be. We can say, maybe we'll make it 18 inches wide. Bring it in maybe 3 or 4 inches from the edge of the counter, and then make it 12 inches deep, maybe a bit further than that, maybe 14. I'll say 1 inch that way and 1 inch this way. There we go. We'll go in and draw this in now. And maybe rather than doing an undermounted sink, it'll all sort of be part of the countertop. And so we can just go in and we'll push this down 7 inches, maybe less than that. Maybe we'll say 5. So we'll pull it up 2 inches. And so we don't want this to be as square as it is. So what we're going to do, we'll just go in and grab all of the faces that are connected to the lines that we want to round off. Essentially everything below the surface of the counter. And we'll just go up to round faces. We can say maybe a little bit more than 1/8, maybe 1/6. We'll say that, hit enter. And so this is what it's done. Obviously it looks like the sink is gone, but it's actually just drawn another layer over the top of what we have. So we can delete that. And here you can see our sink. It's kind of difficult to see. We'll turn on profiles just to see. No, that doesn't really help either. Now we'll just go in and draw the drain. So we got some guides here that we can sort of square off. We'll say at maybe 40 faces for the drain here. Need to be too big, maybe 0.75 either direction there. We can pull this up 1/16. And maybe we'll pull it down a 32nd. Doesn't need to be too high. Kind of want it to almost be flush with the base of the sink here. We can pull that in, say to there, and then pull this up another 32nd. We can offset the bottom one, a 16th, and push that down a little bit. There we go. And rather than this being almost looking like it's down, which is sort of the way I modeled it, is maybe we'll push this to the bottom, and we can bring in sort of an offset to about here. We can push this up about this height. Then we can offset the top one again to line up with that. Then push this up probably 1/8 of an inch. And we can just fill in this face on the top here and erase those lines. And there we go. And then we can just push this face down. We'll say 1 inch. We can just turn off hidden faces there. And maybe we'll even pull this one out a little bit, make it a bit more flush. Give it a bit more presence. Yeah, I think that looks a bit better. So that'll do it for the sink and the cabinet itself. So now we can move on to doing the taps. And so I'm trying to use the warehouse here, but it's just not working. I've rebooted it a couple times, but anyway, I guess instead of finding a tap on the warehouse, we'll just make one ourselves. And so we can go in here, we'll draw in a square, say 2.5 by 2.5. Then we can just group this, we'll say bathroom tap. And the idea here is I'd kind of like to make a bit of a waterfall tap, which is essentially a tap with the top half kind of removed, if that makes any sense. You'll kind of see what I'm getting at here now in a minute. So we can go in here. We can sort out the scale later on as well once we get it finished. So we'll go in and pull this up, say there in height. And it is definitely way too big at the moment, but that's fine. We can just control push this up about there. Then we'll pull this out. Taper this back in a little bit. And it's kind of, I'm not really basing this off anything at the moment. I'm kind of just kind of free-eyeing it. So I apologize for not giving you really kind of hard dimensions if you want to make it yourselves. But if you do want to follow along, it doesn't have to be precise. It can be really anything that you want it to be. So then we'll draw a line up there and draw this one across. And then we can pull this one up. And so we'll erase these now and just draw one in here. Because this little block here will be basically the handle. And then we can draw in some side pieces, 3/16 say. And then bring up one from the bottom. Say maybe a little bit higher than the sides, say 1/4. And then we can draw in our rectangle. We can push this base back to up there. So we got that. And then we'll bring down this piece to about there. Reverse that face, and we can push these pieces in. And in fact, you know what? We're not going to do that. We'll erase that, and we'll push this down to there so that we still have this square. We'll fill the face back in, except instead of doing a square, we'll find our center here, grab our circle, say 50 faces, and then draw this out to about there. We can pull that up about 1/8 of an inch. Then we can control pull this up to here. Then we can control pull this up again a bit further to there, say. Fill this face in. We can erase all these little sections. Then we can erase this bottom piece as well. There we go, erase that. We can pull this up a bit higher, say to about there. And then pull this down 1/4. Draw a line across there, and then pull this out to about here, say. Maybe even pull the handle up a bit higher. It's another 5/16. And then basically we'll just bring in some guides, because we're going to hollow this piece of the handle out. Just go in and draw in our rectangle to there, push that up to the top. And then probably, if you look at our distance here, yeah, 1/4. And pull these in a little bit, pull them in 1/8. And we can go in, we'll pull that up about maybe 1/4 of an inch. And push this in, because this is where the water will come from. We kind of want to hide that. So we'll say push it in 1 inch. Drag some guides up in the front here, maybe 3/8, and then back 3/8. We can grab our arc tool, leave it on the default 12. Just round off these corners a bit. And push those off. Maybe we can even go in here and push this back a little bit. And we'll just grab the bottom here. And we can offset that, bring that out about here. And then we can grab this, we'll pull it up a little bit higher than that. There we go. We can leave this, turn off our hidden geometry and all that, and scale this down a bit. And just try and get it to a spot where I think it looks pretty good and would fit sort of the style that we have here. I think that looks pretty good. So then we'll just go in and basically try and line this up with the drain that we have there. And so the way we can do that, we'll just go in, turn on hidden geometry again, and draw a line across till we find our sort of our center point. And then just grab the center point and drag it pretty much right to that line, and then we can go back and bring it up to the surface. And maybe we'll just go in here and without extending the handle, we'll go in and grab these faces, pull this out a little bit like that. I think that'll do it for our tap. And overall, if we just look at our dimensions, the width now is a little bit less than 2 inches. And the depth of the sort of the stem here is about 1 3/4. So it's not really a square anymore, but I think that looks fine. I think it looks good the way it is. Probably go in actually and even just push this in a tiny bit, 16th. Erase that bottom bit, push that in a 16th. There we go. And I want to go back in and just make this a little bit thicker. Give it another 16th there, just to give the handle a bit more girth as it was. It was about 1/8 of an inch, is a bit small, but I think that's pretty good. What we can do here is we'll go in and we'll shave this off, maybe even a little bit more of an angle than that. Because if the tap ever sort of tilts up when you're turning it on, it's going to hit the back here. So we can cut this piece off and just go in. We'll grab the circle here and pull it up through that. We can reverse that face. We can say intersects faces with geometry so that it cuts that off. And we can go into hidden faces and then just delete the lines created from the circle there. We can even go inside here and erase that. Clean it up even further. So that'll do it for the tap. Now we can move on to doing the mirror. Let's give the warehouse another shot, see if it loads this time. No, still not loading. And so I guess we'll make it ourselves. And what we can do in this case is we'll just do a simple mirror. We'll grab our rectangle tool, pull out sort of an arbitrary measurement, doesn't really matter, and bring this out, say 2.5 inches. And then this will sort of be a box. We can put some sort of ambient backlighting around here if we decide to do that a little bit later on. Grab our front face here and pull it back. We'll say 1/4 inch. And then we can push these sides down, say 1 inch all the way around. Reverse our front face here. And bring that down to about there. So I'll say 1'3". We can go into this face here and pull that down 1'3". And then we'll just go in and grab our full mirror, group it. Downstairs bathroom mirror. We'll pull it up a little bit, about maybe here. And we'll just see essentially where the center point of the mirror is from the floor height. Just say average height. Bring this up, say 5'6". We'll see where that lines up. Should we take another guide and drag it? Is about there. So it's not particularly high right now. We can drag this up maybe a bit higher. And then if we bring that up another 6 inches, yeah, maybe another inch up. There we go. Erase those. Maybe even just go in and put a very, very thin, maybe like even an 1/8 inch trim around the edges. Something very simple, very small. So that'll do it for the mirror. And so the last thing really to do in there is to deal with the lighting. I think we can just take some pot lights and stick them in there for now. If we decide later on, maybe closer to rendering, that we'd like to do more of a formal light fixture, then that's something we can look at. So we'll just borrow this piece from the second floor layer. We'll bring it down to the first floor layer so we can kind of see what we're doing. Make sure that it's up on that plane. And then we can do our overhead and parallel projection view again. I'll just drag this out. We'll put 2 sort of above the sink area and sort of center them right around here. And then we can go and put 1 sort of in the middle of the room and then another one over the toilet. There we go. And we can just leave it with that for now. Maybe move this one back a tiny bit. Turn off our parallel projection. And then we can slide these into the second floor layer. There we go. And so that'll wrap up this bathroom. We might end up putting sort of a piece of art on the back of the wall here, some sort of photo or something like that. But we won't worry about that right now. What we can do, just to sort of wrap all of this up, is get into some of the coloring and just figuring out what we're going to do with that. Looking at this mirror here now, it does seem like it's a little bit wide, so maybe we can just scale this down a little bit on either side. There we go. I think that looks a bit better. And it doesn't really matter about the side measurements because the lighting, I think, would be top and bottom rather than on the sides if we do end up adding that. And of course we can adjust it later anyway, so it doesn't necessarily matter. But we will look into coloring. And so this counter I think would be a wood color. Not too dissimilar from the ones in the kitchen, but we can just go in here with our red. Using the red is of course a nice way to make sure that you have gotten all of the faces. If you think you've missed some and you're using a very similar color to the one that you that previously was there, maybe it was white, maybe it was something else. Sometimes it can be hard to tell based on SketchUp's lighting whether or not you actually colored it or not. There we go. So now everything is red. I think we got everything. So now we can get into the editing and we can leave the cabinet model itself now and just start coloring. I think we'll want this to be a bit brighter. Bit more colorful, maybe something like that. And then we'll go in with the drain here and paint this. This can probably just go sort of a stock, maybe darker silver than that, darker gray. And we'll paint the bottom there almost a black. There we go. And then this tap, we can pretty well just paint this silver, maybe even a little bit of a darker shade, sort of to match the drain. Then we'll go into the model itself and then just start coloring these pieces sort of differently. I think we'll paint that color, and then we'll paint sort of the back piece there, almost a black. And the mirror itself, so we'll do the mirror sort of a light gray. And then the edge of the frame, that can go a bit of a darker color. And then behind the mirror can go kind of a darker color. It doesn't necessarily matter what it is. There we go. We can paint our door handle silver as well. Maybe a bit darker than that. There we go. And now we can get into the wall colors. And I'm not really sure what we're going to do with this. Just play around with the slider for now and see what we can come up with. And maybe we'll go with something like this. So we can have essentially the back wall where the mirror and the sink are be the same color as the floor where the tile is. And essentially, maybe we'll do some sort of tiling on this wall here. And then once we get some sort of art on this wall, that'll sort of help close it in a little bit. And I think that actually looks pretty good. We can go in here and maybe tone down the colorfulness of this a little bit. Maybe make it a little bit less red. Something like that. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And as always, once we get closer to the rendering process, once we actually see what this starts to look like with the textures and all that sort of stuff in place, we may decide to change it. But for now, I think that looks pretty good, and we can probably go ahead and leave it where it is there. And we can probably get into doing some more coloring and stuff next time. But I think, for the most part, we got a lot done this video. The bathroom is essentially finished. Maybe a few other little finishing touches here and there. Maybe a little toilet paper roll thing. But that'll go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. I'll see you guys next time.